What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be giving you guys my updated version of Reverse Flash's Timeline Explained. So yeah, with the end of the Flash Season 8, a lot of people requested that I make an updated version of this video, so yeah, let's just get right into it. So yeah, let's start from the beginning. So Eobard Thawne was officially born in 2151. We know that because of a scene from The Flash Season 1 where Thawne says that he was born 136 years from that moment, and at that moment, it was 2015. So we know he was born in 2151. So anyways, Thawne, he grows up to become a scientist. He works at the Flash Museum, and he becomes fascinated with the Flash and the Speed Force. He looks up to the Flash, in fact, just like probably everybody in that time. So yeah, he eventually finds a way to grant himself speed, and he wants to become the next speedster hero. He wants to become the next Flash. But then one day, when he's going to reveal himself as a hero, the real Flash, Barry Allen, comes out of nowhere, time travels to the future, and steals Thawne's thunder and just saves the crowd that Thawne was meant to save, which builds up some anger for Thawne towards the Flash. And that's really what started his hatred for Barry. So yeah, then through time travel, Thawne is able to figure out that he is meant to be the Reverse Flash. He's meant to be the arch nemesis of the Flash. So with that said, he creates his own Speed Force, the negative Speed Force, and he begins time traveling to figure out when the Flash is from. So this is when we see him in Season 2, Episode 11, when he finally confronts the Flash. So yeah, this version of Reverse Flash right here is actually the youngest version of him that we ever see on the show. He's the only version that hasn't killed Barry's mother yet. So anyways, the Flash ends up capturing the Reverse Flash, but they have to send Reverse Flash back to the future where he came from because of the changes to the timeline. They were affecting Cisco. They were making Cisco be erased from the timeline, so they had to send Thawne back to the future. Now, what we think, we've never actually seen like footage of what actually happens when Thawne is sent back to the future. But what we can assume is that he, fights the Flash a few times, trying to figure out his identity, which is, we obviously know that's what he was trying to do. So one day, Reverse Flash actually does figure out the Flash's identity, and then he goes back in time to try and kill Barry as a child. But the Flash, or Barry, was following him right behind him. So then we have the iconic living room fight with Barry and Thawne around Barry's mother. And Barry is able to get his younger self out of there before Thawne has the chance to kill him as a child. Now, of course, the reason why Thawne wanted to kill him as a child was because Thawne hates the Flash. He doesn't want the Flash to exist. Now, what happens next is Thawne just goes, you know what, maybe if I kill Barry's mother, then maybe he will never grow up to become the Flash. So Thawne then kills Barry's mother. But then when Thawne is leaving, he realizes that he lost his speed in the fight with the Flash. So yeah, now because the Flash has ran back to his time and Thawne has lost his speed, there's no possible way for him to open a portal to get back to a future without the Flash. So now that Thawne is stranded in the year 2000, this is where the Season 1 events start to play out. So in the original timeline that Thawne was initially from, Barry doesn't actually become the Flash until the year 2020 because the particle accelerator wasn't actually built until that year. But now Thawne needs the particle accelerator to be sped up. He needs it to be built faster than 2020. So yeah, then Thawne takes over Harrison Wells' body with his future technology in order to take over Star Labs and build the particle accelerator in 2013, but he rigs the particle accelerator this time and makes it explode, which creates a storm cloud that creates a lightning bolt that strikes Barry Allen, and he becomes the Flash. Now, of course, the reason Thawne needed Barry to become the Flash was so he could open a portal for Thawne to return to the future. So yeah, Thawne pretends to be in a wheelchair as well at this time, but in reality, the wheelchair is only just charging him more full of speed. Thawne fights the Flash a few times as the Reverse Flash, but also is helping Barry to gain more speed, to get faster, because that's what Thawne needs in order for Barry to get to a point where he can open a time portal. So eventually, when it's revealed that Harrison Wells is really Eobard Thawne and Eobard Thawne is the Reverse Flash, he makes Barry a deal that if Barry will open a time portal for Reverse Flash to return home, then he will teach Barry how to time travel and save his mother. So yeah, then Barry goes back in time, but he doesn't actually end up saving his mother. He only just comforts her as she dies, because original Timeline Flash told him to not change the timeline. So when Barry gets back to the present day, he's able to stop Thawne before he goes back to the future, and the two fight it out. But it really looks like Thawne's going to be able to come out victorious in the fight. until Eddie Thawne, Eobard Thawne's ancient ancestor, kills himself to erase Thawne from existence. Now, we don't actually see this version of Thawne again until Season 4, so with that being said, let's go over the versions of Reverse Flash that appear in Seasons 2 and 3. So we already went over the version of Reverse Flash that returned in Episode 11 of Season 2, but now let's go over the one that appears in the finale of Season 2. So Barry eventually creates Flashpoint. At the end of Season 2, he goes back in time and stops the Reverse Flash from killing his mother. So with that said, Barry actually ends up pulling Reverse Flash from the timeline as well. So Barry holds Thawne captive in the Flashpoint world where both of Barry's parents are alive, but Barry quickly realizes that he made a big mistake by saving his mother, so he asks Thawne to go back in time again so then Thawne can kill his mother. So they do exactly that. Thawne kills his mother once again. So yeah, this mostly restores the timeline. Obviously, it's not going to be perfect, but yeah, it mostly restores the timeline. But anyways, this is where Reverse Flash's timeline gets a little bit confusing. So here's the thing. This Reverse Flash that killed Barry's mother once again is still the same Reverse Flash that, you know, eventually gets stuck in the year 2000, becomes Harrison Wells, and eventually creates the Flash, right? So in order for Barry to still become the Flash, Flashpoint Reverse Flash would still have to get stuck in the year 2000, and I still think that's what happened, even though in the next scene, we literally see Reverse Flash bring Barry back to present day, meaning Reverse Flash can still time travel. So what I think is happening here is that there are two versions of Reverse Flash. The Flashpoint version of Reverse Flash that still manages to get stuck in the year 2000, and a time remnant version of Reverse Flash that brings Barry back to present day. Now, this time remnant version of Reverse Flash is not supposed to exist. He's supposed to be in his correct place in the timeline. Now, this time remnant version of Reverse Flash then goes on to Legends of Tomorrow, and that's why the Black Flash was hunting him throughout Legends of Tomorrow Season 2, because, like I said, he was not supposed to exist because he's a time remnant, and Eddie Thawne killed himself. So, yeah, that just solidifies it right there. So now this time remnant version of Reverse Flash, he goes on to Legends of Tomorrow, teams up with Damien Dark and Malcolm Merlin, and goes after the Spear of Destiny. Now eventually he is quote-unquote killed by the Black Flash, but in Legends of Tomorrow Season 7, we find out that in reality, he was only just taken to a fixed point. To protect the fixed point, he was also stripped of his speed. Now, in this episode as well, he was killed again. So yeah, then we thought that was it for this version of the Reverse Flash. Now, we also found out in the Flash Season 8 that they're saying this version of Reverse Flash is the one that comes back toward the end of Season 8. The version of OG Thawne that comes back is the one from Legends of Tomorrow, but for some reason, he just doesn't have his memory. So the explanation that they, I guess, give us is he was brought back by the Time Wraiths once again because of Mina, I guess is what they're trying to say. But in order for, him to not have a master plan up his sleeve, I guess they had to erase his memories. So yeah, Legends of Tomorrow version of Thawne was still alive on the Flash Season 8, which is pretty astonishing. But anyways, let's go on to the Flash Season 4, where we see Wells Thawne return once again in Crisis on Earth X. Now, obviously, the last time we saw him, he was just literally erased from existence after his ancestor killed himself. So then everyone's confused. How exactly is he alive? I guess by a Season 5 explanation, they sort of say that it's, it's because of the negative speed force. And we find out in Season 5 as well that the negative speed force is immune to timeline changes, so that's definitely possible of how exactly he could still be alive for Crisis on Earth X. So yeah, the negative speed force made Thawne immune to timeline changes, which means Eddie Thawne killing himself did virtually nothing. Now here's a question: do you have to be in the negative speed force in order for it to be, in order for you to be immune to timeline changes, or do you just have to be connected to the negative speed force? Because if you just have to be connected to the negative speed force to be immune to timeline changes, then Thawne, as long as he's got the negative speed force in his system, can never die, which, that would be something that they could bring up in Season 9. I think that'd be pretty interesting. So yeah, that's a little theory right there. Maybe in Season 9, we see that Reverse Flash returns because he is immune to timeline changes with his connection to the negative speed force. I think that'd be pretty interesting. But anyway, Season 4 version of Thawne, Barry just lets him run off, and somehow Thawne gets imprisoned in the year 2034, and we find that out in Season 5 when they flash forward to Nora West Allen in the year 2049. Now, Thawne is obviously orchestrating some type of plan to get out here, and he does as we find out that Cicada's dagger is actually strapped to Thawne's chest, and that's what's dampening his speed in the year 2049. Now, also in Season 5, Barry and Nora time travel back and talk to Thawne in 2015, and this is where Thawne learns of Cicada, information that would eventually be useful to him in Season 5 when he's locked up in prison in 2049. So in 2049, Thawne basically uses Nora to go back in time and create a Cicada that Team Flash would be able to stop, and eventually Team Flash in the past destroys Cicada's dagger, so then in the future, in 2049, the dagger will no longer exist, meaning Thawne could go free. So yeah, that is how Reverse Flash ends up escaping prison in 2049 and in Season 5. Now, we still have no idea how Thawne got imprisoned in Season 5. Maybe it was like the Flash of 2034 that did it or something like that. I don't know. But regardless, the next time we see Thawne is in Season 6. But interesting enough, there's a little twist. He is formless. He is just negative Speed Force tachyons. Now, the reason for this, I'm going to assume it's because of Crisis on Infinite Earths, which happened not very long before Thawne's storyline in Season 6, so that could definitely be possible. But regardless, he takes over Nash Wells' body. But yeah, they are then able to force the negative tachyons of Thawne out of Nash Wells by an exorcism that Team Flash does. And the next time we see Thawne is in Season 7 when they use Speed Force Nora to use those negative Speed Force particles of Reverse Flash and bring him back in the form of Wells, of course. So yeah, that's when Reverse Flash realizes that he is much slower than the Flash, and he vows to get faster. So yeah, Thawne runs off, and we don't see him next until the Armageddon crossover in Season 8. Now, we see Thawne orchestrating things behind the scenes. He kills Joe, he wears Barry's face and makes him attack the city, making Barry think that he was going crazy because he doesn't remember doing any of that. So Barry goes to the year 2031 to see who exactly is making him think that he's crazy, and when Barry goes to time travel, that is when Thawne changes the timeline, and this is what happens. Thawne takes Barry's life, and now Thawne is the Flash, Barry is the Reverse Flash. So Thawne made it so he was the one who got struck by lightning. He has the Speed Force in his system, Barry has the negative Speed Force, and also Thawne kills Barry as a child, erasing Barry, or slowly erasing Barry from existence. But eventually Barry time travels and corrects Thawne's little reverse flashpoint, and then we see that in the way the timeline should be, where Barry's the Flash and Thawne's the Reverse Flash, we see now that Thawne is being erased from existence. So Barry finds a way to save Thawne from being erased from existence by taking away his speed. So now Thawne no longer has a connection to the negative Speed Force, which in turn would come back to bite Barry and Team Flash toward the end of Season 8. So yeah, now the Wells version of Reverse Flash has been locked up in prison without his speed, and this is also at the same time as we see the original version of Eobard Thawne return, and this version right here is, as I said before, the same one that was on Legends of Tomorrow, the Flashpoint Time Remnant version of Thawne. This is him. As I said before, they said the Time Wraiths just took him back, and they revived him because of Mina and erased his memories. Now, initially, the Wells version of Thawne in prison is actually killed by Dion, and everyone thought, that might be it for the Wells version of Thawne. But then we find out that the negative forces only need a sacrifice in order for the Wells version of Thawne to return, and that sacrifice ends up being Iris. Just as Barry throws a lightning bolt at the negative forces, negative Dion makes Iris appear right in front of the lightning bolt, and we know that Iris has had her time sickness stuff going on in Season 8. So yeah, Iris is killed for the time being, and as Barry is holding her in his arms, she turns into like still force particles, or maybe negative still force particles, and those particles fly right in to OG Eobard Thawne. And then the Wells version of Thawne emerges from OG Eobard Thawne's body. So yes, Wells version of Thawne took over OG Eobard Thawne, and that's how the Wells version of Thawne came back. Now guys, keep in mind, the only reason that Dion and the negative forces had to kill Wells version of Thawne before they could actually bring him back is because that he didn't have his speed. They needed to kill him and then bring him back in order to have his speed and to become the negative Speed Force avatar once again. So yeah, next, Wells' version of Thawne becomes like the negative Reverse Flash. I guess that's what everyone's calling him. So yeah, negative Reverse Flash is eventually defeated by positive Flash after what I think might have happened here is, well, obviously Barry used the Still Force in order to defeat Reverse Flash here. But what I think could have happened is this like basically reversed the effects of what initially happened when Wells Thawne took over original Eobard-thon, Barry kind of reversed those effects, even though that still didn't bring back OG Eobard-thon. I mean, it could have. Who knows? Maybe they deal with that in Season 9. Or who knows, maybe Barry didn't really reverse the effects, maybe all he did was he just corrected the timeline using the Still Force by erasing Thawne from existence once again. So yeah, as far as we know, the Wells version of Thawne and the OG version of Thawne are now no more. Now guys, with that being said, I just mentioned two versions of Thawne right there, the Time Remnant Legends version of Thawne and the Wells version of Thawne from Season 1. Now, I actually believe there is a third version of Thawne, and that third version of Thawne is the one that we saw in The Flash Season 2, Episode 11, the one that has not yet killed Barry's mother. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. You're like, well, that version of Thawne still goes on to get stuck in the year 2000 and then becomes the Season 1 version of Reverse Flash. That is true, but there was a big gap in between when Barry and Team Flash send that version of Thawne back to the future and when he goes back in time to kill Barry's mother. So what happened between that time? What I think is that he returns in The Flash Season 9. That's what I think is going to happen, is that version is going to return in The Flash Season 9, and then eventually they're still going to go back in time, and then he's going to kill Barry's mother. So I think that is what's going to be happening. But yeah, guys, I'd say that's about it for the Reverse Flash's timeline. That was at least my take on it. Make sure you guys comment your thoughts down below on his timeline. Also, comment any questions you might have or anything you'd like to add to it that I might have missed. So yeah, make sure you guys just comment all that stuff down below. I'm really intrigued to see what you guys have to say about this, and I'll see you guys in the next video.